The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hi children, I am going to share a proverb taken from Kabir Das के दोहे. काल करे सो आज करे सो अब, पल में प्रलय होएगा, बहुरी करेगा कब. Here it is said that tomorrow what we are doing, today we have to do, and today what we are doing we have to do now itself, because tomorrow what is going to happen we cannot say, or we can say by the next moment what is going to happen we cannot say. So my dear children, time is very valuable for all the living being on this earth. Value the time, as it is said that time and tide wait for no one. So be responsible, move on with the time and be always happy. By saying this, I move on to the next chapter, that is chapter number 3, and it is chemical messages for homeostasis. Chapter at the glance. In this chapter we are going to study about endocrine system, hormones, target cells, pancreas, thyroid gland, thymus gland, adrenal gland, pineal gland, pituitary gland, gonads which consist of ovary and testes, hypothalamus, pheromones which are plant hormones. So one by one we are going to understand and learn about them. The first one is endocrine system. It is an organ system that controls and coordinates all activities of the body. In our body, endocrine system is working, and it is an organ system which is helping to control and coordinate all the activities inside the body. It includes endocrine gland and its secretion. You may be knowing about gland. Glands are sac-like structures present in the body of the living organism, and from these glands certain secretions are taking place. In your last class or in your previous class, that is in 9th standard, you would have studied about salivary gland, isn't it? Pancreas, liver, all these are the glands present inside the body, as well as there are certain glands present outside our body, such as sweat gland, which is secreting sweat. So those glands are exocrine glands, and the glands which are present inside the body are endocrine glands. Now the secretions are the chemical substances called hormones. So the secretions which are done by glands, they are the chemical substances, and these chemical substances are called hormones. So we can say hormones are chemical messengers that regulate cellular activities. So what are hormones? They are chemical messengers, and what they are doing? They are regulating all our cellular activities, that means activities taking place in the cell of the living organism. You can see here in the picture This is the human body, and in the human body you can see the endocrine system. In the case of brain, you can see 3 glands are there: hypothalamus, pituitary and pineal gland. Then when we are coming to the neck region, to the abdominal region, we can see all these glands. That is, in the case of neck region, we can see thyroid gland is present there and parathyroid gland is present there. Then the same way in the chest region, we can see thymus gland is present there, and when we are coming to the stomach area, we can see pancreas, and below to the stomach we can see kidney, and on the top of the kidney adrenal gland is present there, and in the abdominal region we can see ovary as well as testes. So, all these are the endocrine glands present inside our body. I think you can see here, my dear children. See, these are the kidney, and the top of the kidney you can see cap like structure, and that is adrenal gland. And in the case of neck region, here you can see the thyroid gland, and in the case of stomach we can see the pancreas, and in the abdomen region we can see ovary and testes. In the chest region we can see thymus gland. Now in the brain area, hypothalamus, pineal and pituitary glands are present there. So, this is an outline of the glands present inside the body of an organism. Now we are going to study about endocrine glands. The endocrine glands do not have particular ducts. And what are ducts? They are thick tube like structure. They are vessels, thick vessels. Okay, and that is absent in endocrine gland to carry hormones to various tissues. So, endocrine glands, they do not have any specialized tube like structure through which the hormones can be carried. Therefore, the endocrine glands are known as ductless glands. Once again I repeat, endocrine glands do not have any specialized tube like structures or tube like vessels through which hormones can travel to different part of the body. That is why endocrine glands are known as ductless glands. Therefore, how the hormones then will be transported from one place to the another place in the body? You can see, thus hormones are transported through blood. So, from the gland the secretion is taking place, and that secretion, which is the hormone, will be taken by the blood to different part of the body. Now, one question is there: do the hormones transported through blood functions in all cells? Once again, do the hormones transported through blood, the hormones secreted by the glands, when they will be taken by the blood to different part of the cell, whether they functions in all cells? So, we can see what it is. When hormone reach every cell in the body, each hormone acts only upon those cells which have specific receptors. These cells are called target cells. So, the question was whether all the hormones reaching to the cells functions there, isn't it? The answer is, when the hormones reaches every cells, what will happen? The hormone will act upon only those cells which are specialized. That means the cells which are able to receive the hormone. Only what will happen? The hormone will act, and those cells which are receiving the hormones are known as target cells. So, here you can see cells with specific receptors can receive specific hormones. So, the cells which are having specific receptors only will be able to receive the hormones. Hormone molecule binds with the receptor to form a hormone receptor complex. Now, when the hormone travels to every cell, if a cell is not having a receptor molecule, surely the hormone will not bind with that cell. It will move on to the next cell, and if that next cell is having a receptor, surely what will happen? That hormone will bind with the receptor cell, and it will be forming a complex there, and that is known as hormone receptor complex. This is like the lock and key system. That means a particular lock will be having a particular key. With that particular key only the lock will be opening as well as it will be closing. In the same way, a particular hormone molecule will be binding with a particular receptor molecule, and that binding is known as hormone receptor complex. Now, due to this, what will happen? Enzymes are activated within the cells. When the hormone will be binding with the receptor molecule, what will happen? Hormone receptor complex is formed there, and in the cell we know that enzymes are present there, and due to that binding, enzymes will be getting activated, and because of that changes occur in the cellular activities. Because of that, what will happen? In the cell, certain changes are taking place. In this manner, the metabolic activities are regulated in the body of an organism. My dear children, to understand more clearly about the hormone and receptor concept, you can watch a video. So, by watching a video, you will be able to understand it more clearly. So, my dear children, watch the video.
Hormones are specific. They will only affect certain cells of the body called target cells, which have receptors for that hormone. So for example, here a green hormone will only affect cells which have green receptors which match that green hormone. So a green hormone is incapable of affecting this red cell with its red receptors. In the same way, a red hormone will only affect cells with red receptors which are specific to that. Once hormones are in the blood, they will affect target cells. So notice that the cell with the green receptors changes after the green hormone binds it. The cell with the red receptors changes when the red hormone binds it. But hormones are specific. They will only affect target cells which have receptors for that hormone.
Okay, my dear children, observe the illustration. It is what I said just now, hormone at the target cell. That is, you can see here endocrine cell is there and the hormones are secreted there, and when the hormones are secreted, the blood will be receiving it, and from the blood the hormone will be traveling to a target cell, where the target cell, if it is having a receptor, it will be accepting the hormone, and a hormone complex, receptor complex is formed there, due to which enzyme in the target cell is getting activated, and because of that changes are taking place in the cellular activity of the human body or a living body. Here again you can see the same thing is being explained here. This is the blood vessel, this is the target cell, and you can see one non-target cell is present there, we do not have any receptors, and this is the secreting cell, or we can say endocrine cell, and from the endocrine cell the hormones are secreted into the blood vessel, and the blood is taking this hormone to the cells. When the hormone receives the non-target cell, that is which do not have receptor, you can see nothing is happening there, isn't it? The hormone is moving in search of target cell, and when it reaches the target cell, you can see here what is happening. It binds with the target cell and forming a hormone receptor complex, and when a hormone receptor complex is formed there, what will happen? The enzymes present in the target cell will be getting activated, due to which the changes taking place in the cellular activity of that target cell. This is how hormone when they reach the target cell will bring changes in the target cell. My dear children, this part is very important. You have to study it nicely. So, that is about how hormone when reaches the target cell brings changes in the target cell. Okay. Now, based on this basic concept, we have to move on with the other glands present in the body where the hormone will be doing the same function in those glands also. So, first we can begin with after digestion. After digestion, glucose which is formed have to reach the cells to produce energy. We know that after the digestive process, glucose will be formed there, and this glucose is the energy of the body, and this energy has to reach to all the cells so that the metabolic activity will be done very smoothly, isn't it? For that, pancreas plays a major role, isn't it? What is happening? For the glucose to reach the cell for the production of energy, pancreas is playing an important role in that activity. We know that pancreas is the largest gland and it is having a clusters of cells which is together known as islet of Langerhans. Pancreas is the largest gland and it is having clusters of cells means group of cells pancreas is having, and that group of cells together it is known as islet of Langerhans. And in the islet of Langerhans, it consists of two types of cells. One is alpha cells and the other one is beta cells. And you can see here the illustration. Here you can see a leaf like structure is present there, and that is pancreas. When a small portion of that pancreas is highlighted, we can see this is islets of Langerhans. In this case, you can see here the leaf like structure is pancreas, and this a portion is being enlarged here. This is islet of Langerhans, where you can see alpha cells as well as beta cells. Alpha cells produce glucagon. Alpha cells are the cells which are producing the hormone glucagon, and beta cells are the cells which are producing the hormone insulin. Understood, my dear children? That is very important. You can see here alpha cells are present in the islets of Langerhans. Beta cells are also present there. Alpha cells produces the hormone glucagon and beta cells produces the hormone insulin. So, in the base pair relationship we can say as alpha cells is to glucagon, beta cells is to insulin. Now, we have to see what is the function of insulin as well as glucagon. In the case of insulin, it helps in cellular uptake of glucose molecule. That means, when the glucose molecule is present in the bloodstream of a living organism, and if it is normal, it is okay, but when it is more or it increases, what will happen? The insulin hormone will help or will make or intimate the cell to take up excess glucose molecule present in the blood, so that in the blood the normal level of glucose can be maintained. Number 2, it converts glucose into glycogen and store in the liver and muscles. If excess glucose is present there in the blood, insulin will help for the conversion of glucose into glycogen, and this glycogen will be stored in the liver as well as in the muscles. So, that is the function of insulin. Next is the function of glucagon. It converts the glycogen stored in the liver into glucose. When the glucose level decreases in the blood, glucagon is produced there. When the level of glucose is decreased in the blood, glucagon is produced, and glucagon is converting the glycogen into glucose, so that in the blood the glucose level is maintained. Next one, it synthesizes glucose from amino acid. Glucagon is able to synthesize glucose from amino acid. So, these are the functions of insulin as well as glucagon. You can observe the illustration. You can see here level of glucose in blood, it should be 70 to 110 mg per 100 ml of blood. That means in the blood the level of glucose should be 70 to 110 mg. And if the level of glucose in the blood is high, this is high, isn't it? What will happen? The production of glucagon decreases and the production of insulin increases. Why the production of insulin increases? Just now we have seen the function there. What is that? Helps in cellular uptake of glucose molecule, isn't it? So, this is been done with the help of insulin. That is why the production of insulin increases and the production of glucagon decreases, and the level of glucose in the blood will be maintained there. Now, if the level of glucose in the blood is low, it is decreased, what will happen? The production of glucagon increases and the production of insulin decreases. Just opposite to the high, it is happening in low. Here the production of glucagon increases. Why the production of glucagon is increases here, my dear children? You can see here again the function converts the glycogen stored in the liver into glucose. Because of that only glucagon is produced there, isn't it? It increases and the production of insulin decreases. This is how when the glucose level becomes high, insulin is produced, and when the glucose level in the blood is getting decreased, the glucagon is produced, so that in the blood the glucose level is maintained. So, we can say that insulin and glucagon are the hormones produced from the alpha and the beta cells of islets of Langerhans in the pancreas, which are maintaining the blood glucose level in the body of the living organism. I think, my dear children, you would have understood it very clearly. It is very, very important. Now, one question is there: when insulin fails, what happens when the production of insulin, which is a hormone, it fails? Or the next question is, how is the deficiency of insulin or the inability of cells to use insulin affects the body? Isn't it? How the deficiency of insulin means the production of insulin if it decreases, or the inability of the cells to use insulin. The cells sometimes may not be able to use the insulin, isn't it? What will happen to the body that time? The question is, that is the question, and the answer is the glucose level increases in the blood. What will happen? When the insulin fails, the glucose level in the blood, it increases, and there are two reasons for the increase of glucose level in the blood. Number one, decreased production of insulin due to the destruction of beta cells. We know that beta cells are the cells present in the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas, and these beta cells are producing insulin. Now, when the destruction of beta cells are taking place, what will happen? There will be decreased production of insulin, due to which the glucose level increases in the blood. And second reason, the inability of cells to utilize the insulin produced. The inability of the cells to utilize the insulin produced. Sometimes the cell may not be able to take the insulin, isn't it? So, due to that, what will happen? The insulin will not work there, and because of that glucose level increases in the blood. So that leads to, due to these reason, what will happen? It leads to a disease called diabetes. Because of the increased level of glucose in the blood, the person will be having a disease called diabetes. This is important. So we can say that what is diabetes? Diabetes is a condition when the level of glucose before the breakfast is above 126 mg per 100 ml of blood. What is diabetes? It is a condition where a person will be having high glucose level, that is above 126 mg per 100 ml before the breakfast. The normal level of glucose in the blood should be 70 to 110 mg per 100 ml of blood. But if it increases before the breakfast by 126 mg per 100 ml, surely we can say that person is suffering from diabetes. Okay, and the symptoms of diabetes are, number 1, increased appetite and thirst. What do you mean by appetite, my dear children? Vaishnavi, can you answer? What is the meaning of appetite? Yes, my dear child, you are correct. Appetite means hunger, isn't it? So, it will increase the hunger as well as thirst. And the second symptom is frequent urination. That means the patient will be having increased hunger as well as increased thirst, and next one, the patient will be having frequent urination. That means if patient will be frequently going for urination. So these are the symptoms of diabetes. Now how we can diagnose that the patient is suffering from diabetes? It has been said that every 3 months the blood test determines the level of glucose, which plays a crucial role in the diagnosis of diabetes. After every 3 months, when the blood test is being done, the level of glucose will be determining whether the person is having high glucose level or low glucose level, and that plays a crucial, that is very important role in the diagnosis of diabetes. That means every 3 months the patient should go for a blood test. Then only it will be clear whether the person is having diabetes or not. So this is again important, my dear children. Now by taking the sample of urine also, it is easy to find out whether the person is suffering from diabetes, and for that a solution is needed there, and that is Benedict solution, and the name of the test is Benedict test. So here it has been said, through Benedict test the presence of glucose in the urine can be detected. And how the Benedict test can be done, we can see the steps. Number 1, take 2 ml of urine sample in the test tube. We have to take a test tube, and in that we have to take 2 ml of urine. Then number 2, add 2 ml of Benedict solution into it. Then what we have to do, in the test tube which contain 2 ml of urine, we have to add 2 ml of Benedict solution, which is blue in color. Now what we have to do, third step, heat for 2 minutes. The solution which is being prepared there in the test tube have to heat it for 2 minutes, and later on observe the color change. So after heating, the color change will be seen, and we have to go with the inference, or we can say the conclusion. Inference means conclusion. So here you can see, if the color is blue of the solution, when the Benedict solution is added, the glucose level is normal in the blood. So, after heating, if the color is the same as we have seen before heating, surely we can say the person is having a normal level of glucose in the blood. Next one, if the color of the solution is orange or red, that shows there is increase in the glucose level in the blood. And if the color changes to orange or red after heating the solution, we can come to the conclusion, or the inference says that that person is suffering from diabetes. Okay, my dear children. So, that is how by taking a sample of urine we can detect the presence of glucose or the absence of glucose by doing the test which is known as Benedict test. That is very again important. Now, you can see here a logo is there related to the World Diabetes Day. This logo is very important, and it comes every year, or we can say it falls every year on 14th November. This color logo indicates the diabetes. Okay. So, that is about after digestion related to pancreas, where we studied that pancreas is the largest gland and it consists of clusters of cells which are called islets of Langerhans, and these islets of Langerhans consist of two types of cells. One is alpha cell, the other one is beta cell. Alpha cell produces the hormone called glucagon and beta cell produces the hormone called insulin. Both glucagon and insulin, they are regulating the level of glucose in the blood, and when insulin level, or we can say when the insulin level decreases, or we can say when the insulin fails to work, what will happen? Isn't it? The glucose level increases, and that will lead to the condition called diabetes, and we can detect the diabetes by doing test every 3 months, as well as we can detect the level of glucose by doing a Benedict test. Okay, my dear children, now we are going to learn about the next topic, that is regulation of metabolism. You may be knowing about what is metabolism. Metabolism means it is the combination of anabolism and catabolism. That is the anabolic, which is the making up process, example production of glucose through photosynthesis, and catabolic, that is breaking up process, example production of energy through respiration. All these processes taking place in the body. So, what is metabolism? It is a combination of making a process as well as breaking a process in the body of an organism. Together, anabolism and catabolism is known as metabolism. And in our body, metabolic activities are under the control of hormones such as thyroid gland. The metabolic activities taking place in our body, all these activities are under the control of the hormones, that is thyroid gland. And you can observe the figure here related to the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is situated in the neck region just below to the pharynx. You can see here this is thyroid gland, and here you can see this thyroid gland is present here, and in between the thyroid gland you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 small dots, and these dots are parathyroid gland. So, here you can see enlarged part of thyroid gland. This is completely it is thyroid gland, but you can see yellowish dots are present there, and they are embedded in the thyroid gland, and those yellowish portion present inside the thyroid gland or parathyroid gland, isn't it? And the function of thyroid gland are, it increases the metabolic activities, isn't it, of almost all the tissues of the body. Thus the BMR is increased, that is body mass ratio will be increased. The rate of utilization of food for energy is greatly accelerated. Although the rate of protein synthesis is increased, at the same time the rate of protein catabolism is also increased. So the rate of energy which is produced there will be increased. Next one, the growth rate of young people is greatly accelerated. The mental processes are excited and the activities of most of other endocrine glands are increased. So through thyroid gland, the activities of most of the other endocrine glands are also increased. So like this we can say thyroid gland is controlling all the metabolic activity of the body. The function of thyroid gland given in the textbook is very important, my dear children. You have to study. So here you can see next, the hormones secreted by thyroid gland are thyroxine, calcitonin. Now the question related to the thyroid gland, you can see here, how does the rise or fall of the thyroxine level affects the body? What is the question? How does the rise or fall of the thyroxine level, when the thyroxine level increases or decreases, how it affects the body? So we can analyze the illustration related to that question. Here you can see thyroid dysfunction, that is when thyroid gland is not able to function properly, when the hormones, that is thyroxine, is not able to produce properly, or we can say if the level of thyroxine in the thyroid gland production, it increases or it decreases, surely it will lead to the conditions such as hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. So two conditions we can see because of the deficiency or increase in the level of thyroxine. So the function of thyroxine hormone is very important, my dear children, and due to the decreased or the increased production of thyroxine leads to the condition called hypothyroidism as well as hyperthyroidism. So we can see one by one what is hypo and what is hyper. The first one is hypothyroidism. It is a condition in which the production of thyroxine decreases. Hypo means decrease in the production of thyroxine, and hypothyroidism is of two types. Number one, cretinism. This condition is seen in children, and number two, mixed edema. This condition is seen in the adult. So in the case of cretinism, we can say it is a condition where the decreased production of thyroxine occurs during fetal stage. So during the fetal stage, that time what is happening? Decreased production of thyroxine is taking place, and that will lead to the condition called cretinism, and it is mainly taking place, as it has been said, fetal stage. So when the child is in a fetus stage, very small, isn't it? That time if the production of thyroxine is decreased, what will happen? There will be certain issues, problem with that child, and the child will be having the condition called cretinism, isn't it? Now in the case of adult, it is mixed edema. It is a condition where the prolonged deficiency of thyroxine occur in adult. Prolonged deficiency, that means in the case of adult, if the deficiency of thyroxine is there for longer period, surely that person will be having the condition called mixed edema. So these are the two types of hypothyroidism. which is taking place in the human beings, and I told you that cretinism is related to the children and mixed edema is related to the adult. This is again very important, my dear children. Now we can see the symptoms of mixed edema. Low metabolic rate, that means if a person is suffering from mixed edema, which is a hypothyroidism, the symptom goes like this: low metabolic rate. That means in the body of the person, the metabolic rate will be very low. That means the cellular activities which is taking place there, it will be very low. And next thing, sluggishness will be taking place, that is, that person will be inactive. The person will be having some tiredness and the person will be feeling to sleep always. The person will not show any kind of energy in doing any work. So, all that contribute to the word sluggishness. Next one, increases, or we can say increase in body weight. If the person is suffering from mixed edema or hypothyroidism, the body weight of the person increases. Fourth one is hypertension. You may be knowing about the word hypertension. More tension will be seen in them, that is, they will be showing more tension towards very small things also. And inflammation in the body tissues. In the body tissues, they will be feeling swelling or reddishness in those certain areas. So, all these are related to the symptom of hypothyroidism, or we can say mixed edema. In the case of cretinism, we can see mental retardation. Mental retardation means the development of the brain will be stopped or it is blocked. Mentally, the child will not be fit, and you can see here the picture related to cretinism, which is being shown in the child, and related to mixed edema. You can see here, this is the picture related to mixed edema and this is the picture related to cretinism. I think, my dear children, now you would have understood the difference between cretinism and mixed edema. But one thing you have to remember, that cretinism and mixed edema both are the types of hypothyroidism. Now, the next is hyperthyroidism. It is a condition in which there is excessive production of thyroxine taking in the body, just opposite of hypo. In the case of hypo, we understood that deficiency of thyroxine is taking place, but in the case of hyper, excessive production of thyroxine will be taking place. Excessive means to the more than the normal level of production will be taking place in the body, and the symptoms are high metabolic rate opposite to hypo, isn't it? Just now we have seen low metabolic rate in the case of hypo. Now here we can see high metabolic rate, that means the metabolic activities which are taking place in the body of that person who is suffering from hyperthyroidism will be very high, it will be increased. Then rise in body temperature, their body temperature will be not normal, there will be rise in the body temperature. Excessive sweating, we can see sweating taking place in their palm as well as below the foot, or the body is maybe sweating, as we cannot see in the normal human being, those who don't suffering from hyperthyroidism, isn't it? So, in the case of hyperthyroidism, what is happening? Excessive sweating is taking place. Next one, increased heartbeat. In these people, the heartbeat rate will be above normal. Then in them, weight loss we can see. And last but not the least, emotional imbalance. These hyperthyroidism people will be showing emotional imbalance, that is they are not able to control their feelings. For example, now if they are smiling, laughing, enjoying, but the next moment their behavior will be changing. Sometimes they may be getting frustrated, they may be getting angry. So, they are not able to control their emotional balance, that is in them emotional instability we can see. So, those people are suffering from hyperthyroidism. I think, my dear children, you would have understood about hyperthyroidism as well as hypothyroidism. The difference you would have understood, and this part is again very important. Now, the next one is goiter. It is related to hyperthyroidism, and you can see here iodine is essential for the production of thyroxine. We know that the thyroid gland is producing thyroxine, which is a hormone, and for the production of thyroxine, what is needed there? Iodine, and iodine have to be taken from the food which we are taking inside. So, in the food, if there is decreased or we can say there is a deficiency of iodine, surely the production of thyroxine from the thyroid gland will be less. So, here you can see the production of thyroxine is blocked in the absence of iodine. What happens? When the intake of iodine is decreased, automatically the production of thyroxine is blocked, and due to that thyroid gland enlarges in an attempt to produce more thyroxine. So, because of that, what will happen? The thyroid gland, which is seen here, it enlarges. See, my dear children, you would have noticed there are certain people whose neck is enlarged. This area we cannot see a normal neck, but here we can see it is enlarged. It would have come out, isn't it? So, it is because of the thyroid gland enlarged. Here you can see this is enlarged thyroid gland, and this is the normal thyroid gland. So, enlarged thyroid gland, it makes the neck enlarge, isn't it? The swelling you can see here. So, thus thyroid gland enlarges in an attempt to produce more thyroxine, and this condition is called goiter. So, what is goiter? Goiter is a condition which is taking place due to the enlargement of thyroid gland in an attempt to produce more thyroxine due to the absence of iodine which is needed there for the production of thyroxine. My dear children, you can watch a video related to goiter so that it will be more clear to you about goiter. So, now you can watch a video.
What is goiter? Meet John. John has never liked eating foods like tuna, which is rich in iodine. Iodine is essential to the production of thyroid hormones. These days, John has been having a hard time breathing, swallowing, and is having a tight feeling in the throat. Noticing these, John is quickly alarmed. He quickly goes to the endocrinologist, doctors who are specially trained physicians related to glands. John learns that he suffers from colloid goiter. He also learns that women are more prone to thyroid disorder. This includes goiter. One big cause is the lack of iodine. Iodine is very essential to the production of thyroid hormones. Another cause is the Graves' disease. A goiter can occur when your thyroid gland produces too much thyroid hormones. Hashimoto's disease. This disease damages your thyroid glands, which will lessen the production of thyroid hormones. Another cause is pregnancy, which may enlarge your thyroid gland. If your goiter is small and doesn't cause problems, your doctor may advise you to just observe a while and see what happens. There are some medications for goiter, though it depends what your problem is. One more thing is surgery, if you have a large goiter that is uncomfortable. Luckily for John, surgery may be the fastest way to remove his goiter. Medication may take some time since it depends on the size of your goiter. Treatments can heal the goiter, although some may increase in size. It is important for you to have a checkup whether it has increased or decreased. The cause of goiter is simply the lack of iodine. We only need to slightly change our diet, eat foods that are rich in iodine. Seafoods are more helpful since they contain more iodine. Fruits that are grown near coastal areas also contain iodine. Aside from having the right diet, we should maintain a healthy lifestyle.
My dear children, I think you would have understood the session very nicely, and if you are having any doubt related to today's virtual class, you can call me and clarify your doubt. Last but not the least, before winding the class, once again I want to say, my dear children, now you have to be more responsible as you are not in the school. We are not able to interact with each other. We are not able to see face to face. We are not able to meet directly. So the responsibility has increased in you related to the academic side. My dear children, time is very, very important. Once it goes, you will not able to take it back. So do your work properly and be always on the track so that you can score very good marks in your board examination. Always be positive, always be happy, always wear a smile on your face. Okay. So by saying this, I wind this class. Stay safe, stay healthy.